And welcome along to the very last Cardiff City phone-in of the year. It's a great panel tonight, actually, because it's really good to get Gwilym and Vince together because they're quite a kind of renowned duo, connected with Cardiff City, which is good. And Steve Thomas on the show. And Steve, for you, if I come to you first, the last couple of weeks, of course, been quite special for you, to say the least. After significant health issues this year, you missed a load of games, and then you managed to get to the last home game and the final away game. How was that for you as an experience?
It was brilliant. It was brilliant. What's happened to me, I've documented it numerous times elsewhere, and it's not about me, obviously, about Cardiff City, but to go from going to almost every Cardiff City game in the first half of the season to going to no games at all and not being able to do anything. It was like coming out of lockdown again, and it was absolutely wonderful to get to Cardiff City Stadium last weekend and to get to Mansfield Town. Yeah, we said before we went on air that we're not putting too much on Saturday, but I was so pleased to be in the away end again. A lot of old friends again, and lots of hugs, manly hugs, obviously. And it was a really, really good day. And yeah, it's fantastic for me to get back, and I'm looking forward to next season.
Yeah, it's lovely. Like you telling me before, people coming up to you and recognizing it's great to see you there, and showing a little bit of affection and warmth, which is sometimes quite rare these days without widening it up too much. But overall, Steve, you must be delighted with City this season.
Absolutely, it's been a fantastic season. As you know, you and I were together when we went down in the last home game of the previous season. I was gutted, went to Norwich the week after as well, and we were lucky to get away with the scoreline we did there. But as it turned out, it's been a fantastic season. We needed that reset. We brought our own younger players on by playing them for Cardiff City rather than putting them out on loan elsewhere, as would have happened previously. And also, we would probably, I would submit, not have got BBM in as manager had we stayed in the Championship. We'd have had some more sort of journeyman type Championship manager likely to come in, as you've had a number of over the years. Where I won't waste everybody's time by naming them now, but I think to get BBM in, we've absolutely struck gold with him. And whatever happens next season, we have to stick with him. Have to stick playing football the BBM way.
Brilliant. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. I'll come to Vince, and I'll put this comment on the screen for you, and maybe you and Gwilym can respond to that. We kind of covered it in the preamble, didn't we? They're talking about, it wasn't a great performance on the weekend, but we're not too fussed on that, can we, Vince?
No. Look, you could see the players like the closing down. You look at the goals that were conceded. They were due to people just not doing what they've been doing all season. Really, players were given space to take shots. Tackles were missed, passes were misplaced. We've done a bit of it in the season, but we've always kind of recovered. Somebody else has backed it up. But that first half, we just weren't really on it. If I'm being honest, we were off them. We were very maverick. Going forwards, we're leaving one or two at the back sometimes, and you're going to get caught. Second half, they tightened up a bit, and brought on some fresh legs, and we just showed how good we were. Really, we were far better than Mansfield, who were hanging on in the end. And if we'd taken some of our chances, you take a few people said about what's the name on the wing, Tanner, that he didn't have a great game, but he still hit the bar twice, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
He got that quality. They go in, we still win the game, don't we? Because they didn't have too many chances apart from the goals they scored. So Saturday was a bit of a champagne game. I went there in 98, 99 after we got promoted and lost 3-0, and we definitely didn't play anywhere near like we played the second half there on Saturday. This is a really good team, a good squad. We had 6 under-21 players in our team on Saturday, and and they still held their own even with a bad start. So I'm not disappointed. We're a bit slack in defence, but we got to give them that. You've got to look at the season overall, and for me, we're the best team in this division, even though we didn't win it. If Lincoln had that, and let's be honest, it is a freak run because not many teams do it. Undoubtedly, I think we would have won that league, but they found a way to win games. They stuck to their style, and they amassed the most points. But from a footballing point of view, there's no one come near us. And I've seen every game. There's not one team that come near us.
Yeah, of course, Mansfield were on a really good run as well, for what it's worth, at the end of the season. They were on form with the form side in the division, actually, weirdly. I think.
Yes, they were. They are one of the form sides. When we played them early in the season, they had a lot of injuries, so I wouldn't have gone by that result. They have got some decent players. Will Evans ain't a bad player. The guy they got from Newport. He took us he done us a bit in the first half. I think that was down to Capaccio and Tanner not really hitting it off. They didn't really at the start of the season. Them two were linking really well, but they didn't quite get it on Saturday. But when Kellyman went in front of Capaccio, Capaccio turned into a different player. Them two just looked ooze class.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, they were really good. But I just think Tanner was probably he's played every single game since February.
Yeah.
And I love him or hate him, he'd always be in my team because he's got the quality to put in that cross and to score a goal from nothing. So we haven't got too many players like him. I know he gets a bit of criticism, but he's in my team every time. No winger can get a perfect ball every time.
No, I mean the amount of assists he had. Again, the last couple of seasons he's picked up injuries, and he's come back so well this time. And when you hear him talked about by commentators, etc., on TV, they describe him as probably the best winger in the division. So I think he's underrated actually by us.
He is. I think he's exciting. I really do. And him and Ruben Carwell link up so well when they're both on it. The both of them are unplayable when they're both on it together.
I got a question for you. I'm going to come to you now, Gwilym. Sorry, a question from Jeff. I was just talking about Jeff with Steve earlier. So Jeff travels across from Southern Ireland to watch City, and he's already on the case. So a question for Vince: living in Ireland, how do I go about getting tickets for the pre-season games in Ireland? I need to get to about 10 home matches a year, but don't qualify for away tickets, by the way.
I doubt there'd be any tickets for Ireland, to be honest.
Just rock
you just turn up. Occasionally we'll have tickets for pre-season friendlies, like Notts County last year. They've done a couple, but you won't sell out their pre-season, so just turn up to the ground. That's what all us will be doing that anyway. We'll go, we'd just be turning up to the ground, So I don't think there'd be any criteria at all.
Okay, and he actually, Gwilym, when he comes over, he's got himself like Southern Ireland Bluebirds division hat or whatever he wears. So hopefully that'll grow. It's really nice that the pre-season games happening in Southern Ireland, particularly in Cork, isn't it? So it's a nice thing for us to do, I think.
No, it's great. To be quite honest, I go to Ireland quite frequently horse racing, and I know the area, and everyone will really enjoy it. The Guinness is a lot better over there than it is here,
isn't it?
It really is. And Cork's a nice place. So it should be really good. Looking forward to it. The supporters club will be running a coach trip. So there we go.
Yeah, of course. The ferry didn't run to Cork anymore, does it? I don't think.
It goes into Ross. It goes into Rosslare, and it's about 2.5 hours down to Cork then.
I'm hoping that we'll pick up a bit of a following in Southern Ireland. Of course, with BBM's dad being who he was and the kind of stature of him, he's a well thought of figure in Ireland, and somebody just across the water can watch Cardiff City, isn't there? Bring him over, Gwilym, now.
Yeah.
All right.
You froze, you have, Gwilym.
I didn't catch that. My phone's ringing in the back.
I wonder what was going on. It's all right. I've got a comment. This is quite a good game, actually. A good comment, actually. Steve, I'll go to you. Might go round on this one, if that's all right. So from Lee, I put it up just now, but looking at it again, it's a really good point. Yeah. Mansfield was just nuts, wasn't it? It was just like it was a crazy game. And for next season, though, he says he'd like to see us work on corners, throw-ins, and any high balls into the box. That's the one thing, Steve, I would say over the season where maybe we haven't been as effective as we could be. Would you agree with that?
Yes, if you think about some of the games where we were turned over, particularly, Blackpool springs to mind. Plymouth, we let in some goals from headers, and of course the winning goal away at Lincoln was a header from a corner when we just worked our way back into the game. So yes, I definitely think we should be. Oh dear, you've upset Jeff there, Steve.
I've upset Jeff there. Yeah, what's new?
But I was going to say as well, going back to Cork City, when I went to watch the Euros in Germany in 2 years ago, and I was on a train back after a game in Dortmund to Dusseldorf, where we were staying, and I was chatting to a Cork City season ticket holder, and he knew nothing at all about Cardiff City. So I put him right on that on the hour and a half journey between Dortmund and Dusseldorf, and he said as he got off the train, we shook hands, and he said that he would keep an eye out for Cardiff City, so he'll be able to watch us in July. Yeah,
brilliant. What's your sorry, Jeff? What's your thoughts on that, Vince? In terms of like the dead ball stuff, haven't been great at corners and free kicks.
We haven't got the players, Steve.
No,
you can't. I understand. I fully understand where they're all coming from. Our player, you've got to play to your strengths, and they're not our strengths. Lincoln played to that. That's what Lincoln are good at. Plymouth are good at that. That's what they play at. We haven't got that. We haven't got them players. We've got Fish, who's tall, and we got Salek. Salek was injured for most of the season, and Fish was in and out the sides for whatever reasons. It's just not our style. What I think we should do is speed it up a bit with throw-ins and us doing. I'm for a long ball kick out from the goalkeeper every now and again quickly, because Tanner and Willock or Tanner and Ashford, most of the wingers they were up against, they had a yard or two on them. And what the keeper needed, what I thought Trott should have done a lot more of, was kick it long out to the wingers, and just not all the time, don't overdo it, so that they think, so they get used to it and defend for it. Just every now and again, as a change, just kick it out long down the flanks and see if they get on the end of it. Because I know they had a run on quite a few players, and it was one game, I think it might have been Peterborough away, and it was 1-1, and Tanner had left the fullback for dead, and if Trott had hit it, he was in, if he got in the right area. So I think I'd like to see that a bit more. The other one that's a bit frustrated is not putting one of the smaller lads on the halfway line when we're defending the corner.
Absolutely, I always think that.
But as far as high balls and stuff, we're not unless Salek's on the pitch, we haven't really got the height at the moment. And maybe there are players who are coming through with the kids or somebody they got their eye on who they can bring in next season. But it's an area we need to develop, and it's just in my opinion, this is only my opinion, we didn't have the personnel this season to play that type of football at all.
So Gwilym, I don't know whether you want to come in on that. One thing I've noticed is when we do the corners, Ruben's often on the line, isn't he? He's tall, so he's a pain for the keeper. But I wonder if maybe we could get more value out of him if he was, played in a different way, more kind of offensively at corners because of his height.
So, Ruben.
Yeah.
Well, in fairness, he has scored a couple of headers. Right? Yeah, he has this season, but for about 5 seasons, he didn't even win a header, did he? So, and he's the tallest guy on the pitch. But I think going back to the defensive frailties, personally, I'd start next season. I think Osho's the most dominant of the centre halves, and I do think that we could get found out in the Championship off set plays. To me, it is a weakness that needs to be resolved. And the other thing I think needs to be resolved, I think we need to sign. The position doesn't matter, but I think we need to sign a decent captain, a Sean Morrison type leader of men. I'm not sure if there's one of those at the club at the moment, possibly Perry NG, but he's got to sign a contract. But I think we need a forceful captain to drive us forward.
Okay. So talking of that, Gwilym, this comment then, sorry, Lee. I mean, it was valid and relevant, I think, to talk about offensively, with dead ball situations, but equally, he's talking about, maybe the kind of player you're talking about there, Gwilym, someone defending high balls into our box, someone kind of dominant in that regard, and maybe, like you say, a captain figure,
Yeah, well, I feel this season we have struggled against the big rough and tumble centre forwards. They're the ones that have given us trouble. Port Vale, for example, early in the season, and then that centre forward went to Plymouth, and he gave us problems again. And on Saturday they had a tall centre forward that was quite good. And we just seem to struggle against that sort of character.
What about you, Steve? We've got similar thoughts, I'd imagine.
Yes, I agree entirely. We've not had a leader for a little while. remember seeing when the teams would be lining up, you'd see it on the big screen. They'd be lining up in the tunnel, and you'd see Sean Morrison at the front, looking basically quite intimidating. And you thought that is the sort of play you want leading us out. We've not got that with all the plaudits appropriately for Callum Chambers and Ruben. You see them leading out; they're not going to be as intimidating as someone like Sean Morrison. Even we had, Sean Morrison and Sol Bamba as our centre back pairing. That was enough to get us into the Premier League, obviously at the time. I think we need to push on. I think that the comment that you just put up on the screen there, Steve, is relevant. It's very, very interesting to see how we're going to recruit in the summer now. We do need a bit more experience in that, as well as a new captain. I think you're right, Gwilym. We need a leadership figure, and we also need to see what BBM's made of now in getting players in. Let's push on next season in the Championship. Let's make it a decent season next season.
Yeah, so I'll put that comment back up then for Vince and Gwilym. It doesn't matter what we can and can't do, and we mustn't play like we did when in the Championship. It's all about recruitment now, and to see what BBM is made of regarding selling and signing. It's going to be a really big summer for us, Vince, isn't it?
Yeah, I do trust him though, Steve. Last season, before he'd seen the squad and we met him, we had the pleasure of meeting him early on before we kicked the ball in anger. And he said, maximum of players I need for this squad is 4, but he said I'd be happy with 2. We started the season with 1. We ended up with 3 by the end of the transfer window. And look where we are, So if I do trust him to bring the right players in, you've got to look at his pedigree, the clubs he's actually managed at. I know he won the number 1. But he was at Man City, he was at Leicester with the academies. He's brought some decent players through, and he improves players as well. And not only that, he's a kind of a modern manager where they're just, they're really in, they go over every minute detail, don't they, of every team, and with all the stats, and look for weaknesses and look for their moments. And he's one of them. And I don't think we've had a manager like that in a while. And I do trust him to do it. If the problem is we probably will have to sell if the money's right. We will have to sell one of our stars just to balance the books and bring players in. They all go on, we never spend money. The problem is we've spent too much money in the past, and we're always on the edge of financial fair play. So even now, we've had a successful season. We're probably less than £1 million away from going over having an embargo. So there's no wriggle room for them, So what they've got to shift players. They've got to drop wages. And I don't know whether people understand this. I keep saying that I'm blue in the face. It's down to the poor management previously. It's not down to this manager, but it's down to some of the players we signed before. And and as good as Neil Warnock was, he left us with no assets. He went for journeyman, and they had no sell-on value. And we've never recovered from that, to be honest with you, from a financial fair play point of view. So we've got to bring our youngsters through. We've got to try and make them good so that we can sell 1 or 2 of them and give us so we can improve the squad to give us more wriggle room. That's the issue that the manager's got at the moment. He's suffering from previous poor decisions.
I think this might be a comedic comment, whatever happened to Darcy Blake, but it was a while ago. Just a while ago. Gwilym, and
he's playing rugby actually, Darcy Blake. He is. Yeah. If anyone wants to know, that's what
he looked like he was going to be great, didn't he? When we had that game against England and all the rest of it. Gwilym,
I think.
Anything to add?
I think looking ahead to next season now. I think there's one thing BBM isn't going to have the luxury of is this season he had a small squad, and we progressed a lot in the League Cup and the Virtue Cup, and the whole squad were getting game time. My concern next season, if he's going to go with a small squad again, he's got a League Cup first round the week before the season starts. Now, if we get knocked out in that, he won't have really the opportunity to keep the whole squad fit and happy like he did last season, because everyone played a lot of games at the beginning of last season. We progressed well, and that was the foundation for our success. So that needs to be carefully managed. And I think getting through that winning that League Cup game, first game of the season, and giving us additional fixtures is vital for a small squad to stay gelled, focused, and fit.
That don't sound right. A small squad, Gwilym.
No, but it worked for us, didn't it?
You don't want too many games, do you, with a small squad?
Well, it worked for us this season. We played loads of games, didn't we? With the Virtue Cup, we played all.
He used all the academy, didn't he, on the Virtue Cup, though, didn't he? He didn't use the squad players on that. There was a lot of academy. Was it 3 or 4 a game, I think he put in on that. But the League Cup, yeah, I take your point. They've got to do well. But that'll depend on who we bring in, really, isn't it? I think that's the issue.
Well, there's another comment here which would be great to go around the panel on. I'll start with you, Gwilym. So, Rich Lewis, haven't seen Harry Tyler in the past 2 games. We must sign Nathan Trott on a permanent deal, not to personalise it to Harry. He wasn't particularly well defended, was he, on the weekend, to be fair? But Nathan Trott, would be a big signing and worth every penny. Any thoughts on that, Gwilym?
Yeah, we definitely need to sign him. Obviously, the reserve goalkeepers, Tyler on Saturday, I think he was probably at fault for 1 or 2 of the goals, and then Turner before him, he had nightmares. So I think the reserve goalkeeper is a little bit of a concern. But it's like anything. I suppose they do need games, don't they? It's tough on the new goalkeeper to come in, but he made a couple of decent saves, but. There was one. I think he slipped for one of the goals, didn't he? And the 5th goal was a bit soft. But I haven't seen the guy. He doesn't play in the reserves. He doesn't play football at all, does he? When I go and watch the reserves, it's always one of the youngsters. So in fairness to the guy, he doesn't play competitive football into the last couple of weeks. So hard to judge, but it would be a concern, goalkeeper, and we do need to sign Trott.
So Nathan Trott, Steve, $1.5 million was a figure that was talked about, wasn't it? And there was obviously a clause in the contract if you went up, which we did. I don't know whether Vince knows anything more about it. He might say in a second. But I think, as far as I understand, we seem to have exercised the offer, but it seems to be kind of in abeyance. What's your thoughts on Nathan?
Yeah, I think you can understand Nathan Trott's position. He doesn't want to commit to do something. He obviously wants to consider his options, which is entirely reasonable and is in his position. But Nathan Trott's been absolutely fantastic. I think back a number of times this season, he's saved us points. For example, when we scored the very late goal at AFC Wimbledon from Isaac in added time, he still made one absolutely fantastic save. When we were hanging on there, and the Luton away game, we made 2 or 3. I don't know how he got to some of them. I think even Naki Wells commented on how he was unbreachable that day, and we scored the 1 goal. So I think probably 10 or 15 points this season have been down to Nathan Trott saves. I think.
So that's big, Sorry, Vince, come in on that.
Oh yeah. The king is dead. Long live the king. Look, it'd be good to sign Nathan Trott, but as I said earlier on, I trust BBM to get in somebody else if he didn't sign. But all the word on the street is not. I got no proof of this apart from we did meet Mehmet Dalman and Ken Chu, and this was asked by somebody else about Trott, and they just said, they haven't had any offer turned down. They are speaking to him about signing, so that was all. Just rumor mongering it, so they were saying in the press. So the word on the street is that he wants to come to the club. And speaking to his parents, who was around our supporters shop, over Christmas all the time, wasn't they, Gwil? He's really enjoying it here, and he'd like to stay at the end of the season, was what they were saying. So if that's anything to go by, mind, I don't know. But if it's like everything else, Steve, somebody comes in and offers you $100,000 a week, and we're offering $50,000 a week, you're going to go the $100,000. What we can't do is just bust the bank when you've got a decent keeper like the Sheffield Wednesday when we were linked with. He's a good keeper,
Yeah.
There are other keepers out there who are in the market, and but I'd like him to sign. He settled in the club. There's a few things of his game, like a lot of the players, they got to work on, but he'd be a decent sign, a real good sign. We haven't had a good keeper for a while, to be honest.
What I would say there is that the one area of his game where he could improve is dealing with the high ball, the crosses from corners and things like that. He tends to punch and sometimes not very well. And my thoughts are, if you can get one hand to the ball, you can probably get two hands to it, and try catching it. But I think that.
Sorry, Gwilym, where does he rate for you then in terms of keepers? Do you think he's one of the better keepers we've had in recent years?
Second to Marshall. Marshall was the best. Trot second best to Marshall.
Okay. And obviously, getting the right keeper is a massive decision. And I don't know if you saw last week's show, but Andy Dibble was on, and he was talking about, the trend towards footballing goalkeepers.
Which he certainly is, isn't he?
Yeah.
His dad, Trot's dad, told us he was a winger when he was a lad. So
wow,
you can certainly see that in him, can't you?
So do we need a goalkeeping footballer or a footballing goalkeeper? So we'll have to see. But Jammer makes a good comment, Steve, here, which is interesting. He's talking about the money implications, because again, Vince and Gwilym know more about this than me, but I think the number of clubs in the Championship with some degree of financial difficulty is very high, quite a high percentage to say the least. And then you look at West Brom right down towards the bottom. Look at Leicester. Look what happened to Leicester, Blackburn, and others. So it's how we, like Vince alluded to earlier, Steve. If there's not a lot of money, I suppose it might be a case of moving a couple of out to give us a bit more room for manoeuvre with money. Maybe.
Yeah, I think there's a lot, as we've said a number of times already this evening. This is a big summer for us, and a lot of what you see there, you see clubs who are chasing the Premier League dream, and if it doesn't come off, that they go down the pan basically. Derby went down, of course. They threw money at it. They didn't get up there. They're back in the Championship now and almost got in the playoffs this season. But I think the big thing there, I agree with the comment that you just had on the screen. We've got to cut our cloth accordingly and not fall into that trap at all. And again, which is why BBM has been so good for the club, as you said, Vince. Came in and said, I only need a small number of players. We'll see what he says about next season and see where we go.
And it's interesting as well, Vince. We're not going to get into this in great detail, but obviously the ramifications of the recent, judgment in France, has a knock-on effect, obviously, in terms of the current financial kind of availability of those in charge at the club. When you're saying we're just like £1 million or so off from being on the borderline, it's a bit of a worry, isn't it? Really?
I don't think it's a worry. I'll tell you why I don't think it's a worry, because we've been in that situation for about 3 or 4 years, and they know how they're managing it well, and they've managed it when we've been playing awful with no assets. So we're in a different situation to the last 3 or 4 years, okay? So I wouldn't get too concerned about it. Nearly every single club in the Championship, I bet nearly every single one will be in the same boat as us anyway, apart from the ones who come down with the parachute payments. Like West Brom's parachute payments will now disappear, I think, this year. So you'll see them have issues trying to shift players and that. So I wouldn't get too concerned about it. It's just that, you just need the right manager who can, let's look at the teams who've been successful, who've built through you. Sunderland, Bournemouth, Brentford, they're all doing pretty okay in the Premier League. And what they did, they got in the Championship. They told their supporters this is going to take a couple of seasons, but we're going to go predominantly with young players who've got resaleable value. And as long as you see that progressing, because we've said this before, but with BBM, I think it would. I think BBM's an Eddie Howe type of manager. As long as we're patient, and that's the big thing about football fans, we're not patient. But as long as we're patient and we can see progression, that's the way we should do it. And it won't be next year. It might take 4, it might take 5 seasons. But when you get up there, with a squad of players who are good enough for the Premier League. The majority have come through your ranks, and in their prime, in their early to mid-20s, and got loads of sell-on value. And that's how all them clubs did it. If you think 1 or 2 like Brentford, they knocked on the playoffs for 3 seasons before they went up. Fulham's another side I go back to, when Carney and them were young. So there's a lot to be said about having patience and the right manager. you can get in a ready-made manager like we did with Warnock, and he might get successful, but does it leave the club in any better state than when he came in? I would argue it's taken us 4 or 5 years to recover from it.
Yeah, and the point you make there is a really good one, because I haven't got it in front of me now, but I looked at it the other day, and there was a list of all the youngsters who've had their debuts this season. It's like 16 or 18 players or something crazy, including the 2 on the weekend. That's fantastic.
I think one thing would be interesting when Capaccio was pushed forward in the second half Saturday. He looked brilliant going forward, and if he played in that advanced position next season, he would be like a new signing there, because he struggles at right back, and I guess he will in a higher level of football. But when he went forward, he was potentially the worst player in the first half Saturday. Second half, he was up there. Him and Kellerman were the best. It was and it was just a positional change that did it. It's a lot of the people I chat.
He was still right back though, wasn't he, Gwil? He was still playing right back, even though he was more advanced.
He was playing a lot more advanced, and he was in the game, and he had a great second half. I thought really good.
I think we've mentioned it, have we? That when Kellerman plays with Capaccio, they have a fantastic understanding, and I think it would be very, very good to get to. Obviously, we're not going to be able to sign him as Chelsea paid £19 million for him, but it would be nice to get him back on loan again.
Yeah,
came in.
In that. Yeah, I agree entirely with that. I remember the game at home against Leyton Orient when we were 1-0 up, 2-1 up, then 3-2 down, and then Kellerman came on, and there was a time where him and Capaccio on that right wing were completely unplayable, and I think we got 2 goals in about 3 minutes, and we're 4-3 ahead against Orient that day. I think Kellerman. I mean, you think that the goals he scored at Plymouth and the goals he scored on Saturday, he's such a good player. He'd be great to have back next season.
Well, the question must be asked, mustn't it? At the end of the day, Chelsea loan out loads of players, don't they? The only issue there is they've got a new manager who might want him back in the club and have a look at him. So it may be that you don't get the opportunity to get him until late in the transfer window.
Yeah, you're right. Having watched Forest destroy Chelsea this afternoon as well, I think we've got to be careful on that one.
Got any comments on that, Vince?
The only thing I'd say is Capaccio and Tanner were doing exactly the same as what Capaccio and Kellyman did in the second half of Mansfield, the start of the season, until Tanner got injured at Wimbledon. So I just don't think Tanner was on his game on Saturday. I think that's what made Capaccio look so bad. And when Capaccio played the other week, it was his first game in a while. He hadn't had a run of games. Look, I understand why people think he's a decent player going forward, but who are you going to drop for him to be a right winger? Is he a right winger, or does the player want to play there himself, or does he feel comfortable as attacking right back? Do you go 3 at the back and make him a wing back to get the best out of him? They're all questions of BBM. I trust BBM's judgment on what position he plays and who he plays for. All I'm saying is they made a decision to bring Kellyman on second half, and him and Capaccio linked well in attack, and it pushed Will Evans back, because I don't think Tanner, who's one of the best players for tracking back normally, wasn't tracking back at all at Mansfield, and I think that's where the issue was.
Ronan Capaccio, is he one of the few players in the squad who are is he one of the few players in the squad who's actually Cardiff born, Cardiff boy? Am I right in thinking that?
There's a couple in there. Lawler's one, isn't he?
Is he Cardiff, Dylan? Is he?
Oh, yeah, Caerphilly. Oh, you mean actually in Cardiff?
Yeah, Cardiff.
Oh, right. There's a few there. Louis Giles in it. He's Cardiff.
Yeah.
Who else is there? A lot of them are valleys. Well, I call them all locals anyway.
Yeah, they're all.
Like Dylan Lawler's is a Cardiff City fan. Carwell was.
Yeah, that's lovely.
In Ashford, all of them. Isaac Davis.
Yeah,
they're all Cardiff City fans. A lot of them come with their mates to watch the games when they were in the academy. We used to get 1 or 2 of them on the bus. We come up with their mates, So.
Isaac's been at the club since he was 7, apparently. So I mean, that's incredible. But I heard Ronan Capaccio being interviewed the other day. So he just came across as a really great kid. And he had such a nice Cardiff accent. There you go.
He's good. He is a quality player, and that's why Bellamy likes him. He is a quality player with energy. He's really young. Sometimes I think people forget how young
he is. Yeah. He's 18, isn't he?
He looked, on Saturday, he looked like he was 28. second half.
What Vince said, the various photographs circulating of obviously Kean Ashford, the Colwell brothers, and Isaac at the cup finals before, and there's a fantastic picture of Mexico with Ronan Capacchio as well when they were playing something like the under-9s. I just looked it up now. Ronan Capacchio, born 2007 in Cardiff. Amazing that we had a player come on Saturday in Moreno, who's born in 2010. How can we have players playing born in 2000?
Yeah, I know. Shows how old we are.
I thought
he looked all right, didn't he, Moreno?
Yeah. Williams looked good as well, didn't he?
He did,
he's very good. He's very highly thought of, Noah Williams. He's done very well in the under-21s this season. When I see
they showed the defence up for the 6 minutes or so they were on.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah, I didn't know anything about him. If I'm honest, I didn't, but I thought he looked really, really good. I mean, this has come up. I suppose Gwilym is bound to come up tonight. We put 2 and 2 together and make 5 kind of thing. With Wintle and NG and obviously Trott, there were some significant missing players, weren't there, from the squad? Did we read anything into that, do you think?
I think with that, it could be put down to good management. At the end of the day, they haven't signed contracts, so I guess BBM has got to try other options, and hopefully these guys do sign, but he's got a plan if they don't, and I guess that's what he's done the last couple of games, isn't it?
Yeah. Steve, anything on that?
Yeah, I think I did agree with what Gwilym said there. Actually, it's I think it's reasonable for BBM to be looking at the whole squad. I think as well, if we do re-sign all these players, not that I've got anything against these players, they will have fantastic seasons. Wintle, Bagan, and NG. However, if we are looking to bring in some new players, bearing in mind that the financial constraints that we're under, further to what Vince said earlier on, we may need to ship some players out. We may need to make some hard decisions on there. I think come back to the point is we just got to trust BBM.
What about Callum Robinson, Steve?
He is obviously a good, absolute quality football player with fantastic experience at higher levels. However, you wonder where he fits in under BBM. The amount of times when he was playing sort of second fiddle to Salak got injured, and then he started playing Kellerman instead of him. So you have to wonder how much, just despite how positively Callum comes over, you have to wonder if he is going to fit in with the system that BBM will be playing in the league above. So. Maybe he's still got another year on his contract, I understand, doesn't he? So he is likely.
Yeah. We'll have to see, because he's one of the senior players. You think maybe Callum Chambers and Callum Robinson and these kind of players, and like Angie and Wintle, they're not as young. Vince, as he has a kind of young dynamic about him, didn't he, BBM?
All them were at the game Saturday, mind. So whatever people think, he might not be in the squad, but they were all there. They all come on the pitch after. They were shaking everyone's hand, and who knows? I think Bagan and Trott. If I was a betting man in advanced talks, because both of them have been picked, and the word on the street is they both are. But I got no proof of that. It's just what people are saying at the club. Not people who are close to the players, but people who are in the club. The other two, they know nothing about, Wintle and NG, and they are a bit of a pair. They come from Crewe.
Yes,
I'd like to re-sign both of them. They've both done really well, and they've both done well for us in the championship. I know Wintle didn't get on with Bullet, and neither did NG, and that's why they both didn't have the seasons they had the season we got relegated. But what you got to look at is our NG definitely, but is as good as Wintle is, and he's one of probably the best midfielder in League One, or one or two midfielders in that position in League One this season. Is he going to get you promoted if that's what your goal is to the Premier League? And that's the question. But he's the type of player you need in a squad to bring youngsters along with his experience. So, he's got whatever way he's got a role to play. In my book, and it'd be good if we can sign him. But as I said earlier, if the king is dead, long live the king. You just get Eli King could be one like the replacement. I think he was looking good till he got injured after. So, but there's a lot of there'll be a lot of speculation, and everyone will say, we should break the bank to sign this player and that player.
No, but look at Leicester City. That's what I'd say. Just look at Leicester.
Yeah, I know. And, somebody said we were linked with Harry Winks on the weekend, which
Yeah, I just
made
saw
me
it in the chat,
chuckle.
and 90K a week, apparently.
Yeah, I know, which made me chuckle, with our financial constraints. So, look, I trust the manager. I really can't reiterate how much I trust the manager.
Did you like him straight away, Vince, when you first met
Yes,
him?
I did. I did like him because I didn't know he was one out of the shortlist. He was the one I wanted, just because of his links with Man City and bringing the likes of Foden through. Don't forget now he's brought the ones who are in our Man City team now is what Brian Barry Murphy brought through Foden and Tyler. What's his name? Anyway, they're the ones that he has brought through. He was part of that that you set up that brought him through, and he had good pedigree. He's got good contacts. I remember a very young Brendan Rodgers going to Swansea, who had been at some big clubs himself. I think it was Barcelona and Chelsea, and he totally changed the way Swansea played. And as much as I don't want to mention him on there, I just look at a Brian Barry Murphy. He's that type of coach that he's good with youngsters, makes them better. A bit like Eddie Howe has done, So I think he's one of them, and that's why I wanted him. He was one I wanted, and what he did with Rochdale was unbelievable. They had no money, nothing.
They had no players, had nothing there really.
No, and he kept them up more or less,
Yeah.
But anyway, I know they went finally, but they were always going to go. But yeah.
Well, I'll come back to you on this one, Vince, but I'll go to Gwilym first. Maybe we just quickly go around on this. So Martin Ryan's asking, who knows really? Do our young players improve as a result of playing in the Championship, or will the league present too big a challenge for some of them? I suppose it's going to be a mixed bag, but it's a great opportunity for those youngsters now, Gwilym, having spent that great season together and bonded and getting all the first team experience to kick on into the Championship, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I really do think they'll be fine. Lawler, obviously, he's playing at international level. Isaac Davis has had a taste of that. Ashford's been great until his recent injury. I'm sure they'll all step forward. Again, got my reservations about Capaccio and the position he plays, but he's a really talented player. And if BBM gets it right with him, absolutely fantastic. And there's other boys there. I think Noah Williams could break through next season. And then there's even younger ones than that. That Axel Donzak, is it? Yeah, he's really good.
15, is he 15? I think he is.
Yeah, fantastic. So no, I think the youngsters. I think they'll all be fine. I think they'll all be fine.
Great, Steve.
Yeah, I think they will be. Very, very interesting that Ruben's had a particularly good season. We always knew that he had the potential to be a fantastic player, but he was very inconsistent. I remember that fantastic goal he scored against Bristol City a couple of seasons ago, where he got a game between the two and just belted it straight in. He's always had the great potential, but he seems to be showing how that potential can be brought on. And again, I think he's one of the many players who benefited from going down and having this reset and playing in a different, more sort of attack-minded team. Yeah, fingers crossed.
I'm being told that Capaccio was born in Jackland. Well, I don't know. He's got a good accent then. He sounds like vocally he's doing all right. That's the main thing. Vince, any comment on the youngsters going into the Championship?
None whatsoever. They were miles better than anything in League One. So I'm looking forward to see them tested. The Championship won't be able, but a lot of the bottom half Championship teams won't be able to cope with is our energy and our running. A lot of them sides who are in the bottom half don't do a lot of running. That's what happened to us when we didn't do a lot of running when we got relegated. This team does. This team's got energy. They're not frightened to have the ball, so they'll take the ball on. They'll protect it. We just need to be a little bit more. They'll be a year older. They would have had a tough test in League One because we had all types of teams in League One, rough and tumble teams. Teams raised their game as well against us, so they raised their game. So, yeah, our youngsters, I got absolutely no fear of them not performing in this division whatsoever when they go up, and they'll be a joy to watch, and one or two of them will really excel, and it's whether we hang on to them when they go. Kean Ashford in the last 3 months, absolutely totally different player. Oh, from the start of the season, he's more direct. He takes players on. His crossing's got better. Absolute joy to watch as a winger now. Really good, And if he develops the next 3 months the same as the last 3 months, he'll be we'll be singing his name all season when the samba starts to sway,
Yeah. Actually, talking about that, with you and Gwilym, what's the routine with the drums at the back of the canton end there? Which we use on the hi hats. How to work.
Well, it's me, Pitch, and Zach. Really not watered for running on the pitch at the end of the game, but we waited till everyone else went on. I couldn't get on there. I got a dodgy rib at the moment, but they did. We did come off when they asked us to come off. But yeah, we're doing a bit at the back. I suggested, this is my own personal thing, I suggested a few things to the club, try and improve the atmosphere, but they've been turned down. Just wanted to do something in the family stand to try and improve things down there. But safety issues and what have you, they just quote. So I got kicked back on that one, to be honest with you. But
okay.
we come up with all sorts. But the fans have been absolutely fantastic this year, Steve. I know people moan about the home crowds now and again, but the Canton, there's a load of youngsters in the Canton. A lot of them come on my coach. I got his coach 4. And they're all singers. They're great. We had a good crack all season. Old man away. They're there in front, and they sing every game. Win, draw, or lose, they're there, giving the full on. And the problem with the Canton stand for me, right? There's too many old people in there like me in there from,
being cheeky now, Vince.
Yeah, but they are. Look, we were all kids, weren't we, in the Grange End in the Bob Bank? We were youngsters, right? And we used to sing.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, and there's lots, and I'm not knocking because they've all stood at the back of the Grange End and the back of the Bob Bank, and they've all progressed to the back of the Canton. But we're like, we're old grumpy old men now in Rees, really. We moan about this, moan about that, and we should leave it to the youngsters. We should let let the kids in there, go over to level 4 or around the Ninian. Let the kids in there, let them have it, and the atmosphere will be a lot better. And I'm not knocking them. They've all been good. I know of them, a lot of them, my mates, they moan at me, oh, bloody up there on the drum again, it's
just what we know.
Yeah, and it's great. I have a bit of banter with them. I say, well, I'm going to get my season ticket next year, bring my drum with me, wind them all.
Nice one.
But yeah, no, the atmosphere's been good, and the away following, honest, Steve, unbelievable. I think we sold 14 or 15 away ends out this year. I think we sold out, and the ones we didn't sell out was because a lot of them were moved to midweek or 12:30 kickoff in Bolton. So it was we still took numbers, 2,000 odd to them all. So yeah, fantastic following, and they've been well behaved as well, really well behaved, good. I'm the good fun. It's been one of the best seasons following Cardiff.
Yeah, a lot of people said that actually.
Yeah,
which is nice,
Well, I think it's a case of going to new grounds and grounds we haven't been to for 10, 15 years, isn't it? Yeah, I've certainly enjoyed that aspect.
Well, Gwilym will back me up on this. Some of the clubs we haven't been to for years have actually kicked on, and their fan engagement is unbelievable with their, they've got their fan zones and that, which they allow mixed, and it's a great atmosphere before. There's no trouble. Fans are mixing, having a laugh, a chat, and a sing song.
Yeah.
And this is that we're back in the cold championship and the cold Premier League is where you're just a customer. You're not a supporter. You're a customer now. We become customers again. We don't become supporters, or and that's where that's what I've enjoyed most is the way the clubs have greeted us. They want you there. They want your money and they want you there, and they look after you.
Yeah,
I think special mention to go to Wimbledon. I think that was incredible. They were so welcoming. There was they had all the facilities, so much facility in the away end. And I think, if I remember right, the stewards clapped us out, didn't they, or something?
They did. Yeah.
They were really friendly, and places like Lincoln, Reading have got it together now with their fan zone. Really impressive places.
I made a point at the end of the Wimbledon game. I made a point of going and talking to the head steward because I thought they were absolutely brilliant. I don't know if you saw, I was in the corner in the away end at Wimbledon, and a lot of people ran on the pitch when Isaac scored, and obviously dived back in. And one of the Cardiff fans who went on the pitch dropped their phone on the pitch, and the steward went on the pitch, picked it up, and held up the phone and said, "Who's this? Whose is this?" And he came forward rather sheepishly and grabbed his phone off him. But they were clapping us, but they were joining in with a chance as well. They were absolutely brilliant. But again, just to add to what you said, after the Mansfield game on Saturday, we were walking back down the road because obviously I live in Nottingham, so I was walking back to where the car was. And the Mansfield fans were walking past us, and I didn't realise there was a fella behind us who had a Cardiff City shirt on, and they're all walking past going, "All the best for next season, all the best," constantly like that. It's so friendly. And my friend who I was with said, "This wouldn't have happened 20, 30 years ago, would it?" And again, to pick up on your point, Vince, I'm an old geezer as well, obviously. Yeah. I've had a season ticket on all four sides of the Cardiff City Stadium, and I definitely prefer being in the Canton stand. So despite my age, I'd like to stay there.
Yeah, just join in the singing. That's all I say with me.
Look, we've got very limited time now. It's a really, really good panel tonight. I'm really glad to get Gwilym and Vince on together because I haven't done it before. It's really, really good. And Steve, to get Steve back on the show after his season. There's a question here which we'll whiz around quickly. If you could only keep one of these players, which of them would it be? Would it be NG, Wintle, or Bagan? Gwilym.
Bagan, because he's the youngest.
Yep. Okay. I agree with that. I think, Steve.
I would say Wintle on the basis that he's had a fantastic season. He's probably been our best player. Certainly got my vote in the Player of the Year. And anybody who can have a chant about him to the tune of "Yes, sir, I can boogie" deserves another place in the team.
Fair enough, Vince.
It's a tough one, Bagan or NG for me. But I think with Gwilym, I go with what Gwilym said, Bagan, because of his age. But NG's brilliant with the dark arts. That's a tough question. That's not fair.
Yeah. No, I want them all the same.
All three. A tough question. Not fair.
Sorry, Steve, it came up in the chat,
Yeah.
Steve, just one point. I think what will play into our hands next season is I think a lot of the teams have come down to the Cardiff Stadium this season looking to draw, not lose.
Good point.
Teams will look to come down and get 3 points next year. That could play into our hands with the way we play football. If teams open it up, I think that could play into our hands. Particularly the kind of sides at the top of the championship, they'll be looking at us for 6 points, won't they? And I think they can come unstuck. I really do.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I don't know, Steve, you got a comment on that?
Yeah, I'd agree entirely. But again, you remind me what you're saying there, Gwilym, as well. If you think back to the previous season, obviously a complete disaster. But actually, we drew so many games. I think we lost. Didn't we go from winning position to a not winning position in 20-something games? That season. Yeah. We picked up all those points. We'd have finished above Bristol City and got in the playoffs. But I think we were far too. I think what would happen under the predecessor manager was that we would tend to defend things. I mean, I was thinking about Stoke away, for example, when he conceded a free kick in the 7th minute of added time and Stoke managed to equalise against us. So many times we threw points away. I hope and I think we won't be doing that next season because we will keep playing the Murphy way.
Nice. We got a few minutes. There's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. Obviously, the other thing people haven't been talking about yet, Vince, because the season only finished like a couple of days ago. We got some fairly good loanees coming back. Like I said, Eli King's coming back to fitness. There's going to be a bit of squad rotation going on, isn't there?
Yeah, you've got Manfico. He's been
a great season, hasn't he?
Yeah, ripping up trees down where Yeovil, is it?
Yeovil, yeah. He was player of the season there.
Yeah, he was, yeah. And, there was a couple at Eastleigh on there. So, youngsters-wise, we're in a really good position. And the one thing that struck me was Gavin Chesterfield, who works at the club. He said when they interviewed BBM, and I think this has been out in the press since, but he knew more about our youngsters than they did, because
Wow.
he'd been following them since his Man City days. And Gwilym and I was talking on the weekend about it, how we lost when BBM was at Man City. We did lose a few of our youngsters to Man City, if you recall, a couple of seasons ago. And we got some good youngsters, and we got the manager who knows how to manage them, when to bring them into the team, when to rest them, when to give them a break. Whatever he does, I just got the greatest confidence that he got their welfare at heart, firstly, and secondly, he knows how to develop young players. We've seen how many of them youngsters did we think would be first team regulars at the start of last season that played the whole season. I thought Lawler would have gone at one point. I didn't think he was going to be at the club, but you look how many, in the end, Ruben Carwell, Joel Carwell, Lawler, Fish, Bagan. None of them were starting week in, week out the season before, really, with the exception of Ruben Carwell, none of the others. And, all of them, Capaccio, I know he had a couple of injuries. He played a lot of games. Isaac Davis, Kean Ashford, all of them, all played week in, week out in this division against all types of challenges. I keep reiterating that we played against all different styles of football for the whole of the season, and they stood up to every challenge, even the games we lost, with the exception of which game was it? Even all the games we lost, we were in every single game. With Blackpool, we still had more chances than Blackpool. We should have been out the site at half time, 3-1 away. Plymouth, tons of chances against Plymouth, and they were errors, they were errors to score the same goals. And the young side, you're going to get that with a young team, you're going to get that inconsistency, but they'll be better for the experience. So, yeah, there was one or two games, Luton away, I didn't think we deserved the win. I thought Wimbledon should have had a point away. But there weren't too many games, even the ones we lost, where we weren't the best footballing side. And, it's the future's really looking good for us from a young player's point of view.
Well, we're going to come on to the future very soon. Two things to mention. Firstly, we ended up being the top scorers in the division. And when you think about, sides like Lincoln and Stevenage were known for their defences, they're the only two who conceded less than us. So we did well. We did well at both ends. So that needs mentioning. Just want to thank a couple of people quickly. First, thanks for all the guests who've been on the show. Thanks to Nigel Harris and Steve Wiggy Wiggins for stepping in when I've been about to travel. Thanks to Simon Willis, of course, Podcast Nation, Cow City World, also Radio Cardiff, GTFM. Run the radio, various stations take the show, which they always have, Vince, as you know. Yeah. And there'll be more coming on. So yeah, thank you, Frank, and thanks for supporting the show. So the final, and I mean that, I'm trying to be sincere, but I'm rushing, but I mean it. Thank you. Gwilym, go to you first. We're not going to get into this VAR, the top 8, in the playoffs, all that kind of stuff. How are we going to do next season, Gwilym?
How are we going to do next season? I think we will finish top half. And I'd love to finish above Wrexham and Swansea.
Pretty good. Steve?
I'd go for top half as well. Not bothered who we do and don't finish above. I want to win every game we play. It'd be nice to sneak. We don't agree. You say you're not going to mention it. I don't agree with extending the playoffs to 8th. But if we finish 8th from the last day of the season, I'll take it. Fair
enough. Vince?
I think we'll win the playoffs and get promoted. And I genuinely think that. Brilliant. Honestly, I do. I just think we'll catch so many teams out next season. I believe it. We caught Wrexham out early on in the season.
Think of all those buses you'll have to organise, Vince.
I know.
Going to Wembley.
I know. I obviously, with West Ham or Spurs coming down, they're going to take one spot. There are some really good sides who are in there or thereabouts this season. But I honestly believe we will go up through the playoffs. And that's not me just that's not my heart, that's my head. I just think we'll catch a lot of sides out. I got the greatest confidence in this manager to do it. I really have. I think we'll go through that division.
Thank you, Vince. Season tickets will double listening to you.
Right, listen, brilliant. That's why I've been on the show. See, to make that comment at the end. Thanks very much, all of you. Great show. Have a lovely summer, and you, Steve, look after your health, and see you soon. Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.